using StatCrunch for section 3.2. Here I have a list of data that goes from 1 all the way to 50. So whenever I have this amount of data, I want to be able to use StatCrunch. So in order for me to use the information from section 3.2, I'm going to go to Stat, select Summary Stats, and then go to Columns. I'm going to select my variable here, and then what we want to do is we want to be able to generate the variance, the standard deviation. Okay, we also want to have the range, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select the unadjusted variance and the unadjusted standard deviation, and I want to talk about that here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select compute. All right, now if you look here, here is the variance, okay, and we get 0.045. And if you look at the unadjusted variance, that's going to be 0.044. Okay, the difference between the variance and the unadjusted variance, the variance here represents the sample variance. The unadjusted represents the population variance. Okay, in this example, we would use this information here, unless it was specifically asking for the population variance. Okay, if you look at the standard deviation, okay, we get 0.067 if we run up to 3 decimal places. Over here on the unadjusted standard deviation, it would also be rounded to 3 decimal places, 0.67. Now again, the difference between unadjusted standard deviation and standard deviation is that the standard deviation represents the sample standard deviation. The unadjusted represents the population standard deviation. And then here you can see that we generate the range. So this is the information that we can use for StatCrunch for section 3.2. Okay, now what I want to do is, how do I create a histogram using this information? Well, if I go to Graph and I select Histogram, okay, I'm going to select the column. Okay, now I can either choose it to be a frequency or a relative frequency histogram. Okay, and then if I want, I can choose the values above the bar, and we can highlight where the mean and the median is located. Okay, so if we want, we can highlight the mean. Okay, and then at this point, all we need to do now is just go ahead and then create and compute. And therefore, there is our histogram. Okay, so this is going to give us our histogram. And again, this is the frequency histogram. If I wanted to create a relative frequency histogram, what I would do is select Options, and then come here and select Edit. And then I'm going to come back over here, and instead of using the frequency, I'm now going to select the relative frequency. I'm going to select Compute. And now you can see that I have a histogram that represents the relative frequency histogram.